Welcome back, everybody. September 9th, I do believe. September 10th. And I'm on the wrong road. I didn't want to come this way. But a couple cars turned this way, and I automatically just followed them. That's okay. This will take me to the road I want to go down, and I'll just change my ride a little bit. Today the ride is not a ride to just get out for a ride. Testing a couple things, and I had an issue yesterday with the spyder, and I just want to make sure it's corrected. So a couple things really quick that I'm testing. I'm testing a new insert for the 12 volt. I needed a dual USB that's lit so I can tell if it's working or not. This one, however, will not stay in the port, so that's a bust. And then I have arthritis in my hands, and when it's cooler and I'm riding with my big heated gloves, I can't grip the bar very well, and it hurts my hands. So I got a hold of Pierre at, I do believe it's Can-Am spyder and I picked up these foam overlays. And what I went with him is his are thinner than most, and I didn't want them too big and bulky. And right now they're pretty big. They're pretty big and bulky. I'm definitely not used to them, but it does give me a level of comfort. So I will find out, once I start riding a little bit more aggressive, if they're too big, too bulky. And then once I put on my heated gloves, if they hurt my hands, I'll just cut them off. It's not a thing. You leave your factory grips on and you just slide these right over top of it. And then the main cause of me coming out here is I went to change the rear brake pads yesterday, and I have videos on how to change your rear brake pads. So I wasn't going to record anything because I already have the videos up. And how this brake caliper bolts to the spyder, it's pretty traditional, not only to a motorcycle but also a car. So you got a bracket, and the bracket bolts to the spyder. On that bracket you got two slide pins, and that caliper slides back and forth on the pins. You have one other pin that holds the pads in place. It's a simple brake system, especially if you've been out there and you've seen them and you do brakes yourself. So I take the two bolts off that hold the whole bracket and caliper assembly on the spyder. Not an issue. Go to take out the little pin that holds the brake pads in. So if you don't take that pin out, you can't get the brake pads out. And it wouldn't come out. My spyder sits outside. I do not have a garage. I ride all year round. I live in the northern states of the United States. They throw salts. The pin would not come out. So, out comes the propane torch. And I finally get the pin out, get the pads out, and now the caliper won't slide on the bracket. So what happens, you hit your brakes and the piston pushes one pad out, and then the caliper slides, and it just squeezes both pads against the rotor. Well, it wasn't sliding, so I was only using, the outboard pad. The inboard pad was just in a fixed location. I did not notice any difference in how it would break it. I just had this thing down on the Dragon, and I was blowing this thing up pretty hard. I'm assuming the front brakes was taking just most of the punishment. So it was a torch on the actual caliper itself to free up that bracket a little bit, and I got it all cleaned up. It's just the slide pins got rusty, water got in there, and rusted the slide pin to the actual caliper itself. So a little sandpaper, a little synthetic grease that will withstand water, withstand high temperatures. It won't melt, it won't get hard. Anti-seize, I stay away from anti-seize on any type of slide pin, because I've seen, especially with brakes working on vehicles for 20 some years, anti-seize gets thick and hard with heat, and yeah, I just stay away from anti-seize. So I just use a Napa synthetic grease, and it works really good. It worked great in the automotive world. I don't see why it won't work great on the back caliper of the little baby Spyder. You know, so a job that should have taken a half hour, 45 minutes, it ended up taking an hour and a half, which isn't bad. But it was definitely something I did not want to do. I did not want to bring out a torch and put a torch on my caliper on the Spyder. You know, you got to be careful because you do have rubber components in the caliper. Around the piston, you have a square cut O-ring, and that O-ring is what pulls that piston back once you get off the brake. Then you have the outer seal of the piston. That just keeps debris out of the piston and bore area. And then you got the two slides that have little rubber banjo-y boots on there, and that's just, you know, to keep debris and water out of the slide pin so they don't rust up. But, you know, with almost 75,000 miles, you know, it was just... It was probably a service I should have done last time. Instead of just changing out the pads last year, I should have, you know, really cleaned up slides, really lubricated everything. But I figured everything was working good, and, you know, that's a mistake on me. So I'm back to EBC brake pads, front and rear. I did go with a cheaper set of brake pads I found on Amazon. And, you know, to be honest, they lasted longer than what I thought. If you're not a very aggressive driver, you know, they lasted decent. So, I mean, if you're in a pinch, I think the whole set was under $50. You know, they are what they are, but they actually went longer and had a little bit better brake pressure and feel than I thought they would. But back with EBCs, I'm happy, the Spyder's happy. You know, that confidence is back. You know, I was, like I said, I just got back from doing the Dragon. I did the back of the Dragon and then the tail of the Dragon. And, you know, I was getting on these brakes pretty hard, getting into some of these corners. And the Spyder reacts beautifully with EBC brake pads with these Brembo brakes. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get back to listening to some music. I'm just basically out now that I know my power outlet doesn't work, and the grips I think will be okay. You know, I'm just now breaking in these brake pads. So I'll pick a nice little twisty road. That way I can use the brake frequently. And they'll be seated in hopefully by the time I am home. That way if something happens down the road and I need to jump on these brakes, I know they're ready to go. And all you're doing basically when you're seating these in is, you know, that rotor has a whole bunch of micro scratches in it. You know, it's not perfectly smooth. So you're just taking that flat surface of the brake pad and you're braking it into the surface of the rotor. That way you have full contact of that brake pad against the rotor. You know, and if something happened right now, if a deer jumped out in front of me, you know, I'm going to hit these brakes just as hard as I can. And I'm pretty confident this thing's going to whoa down pretty good, just because the EBC brake pads have been on the front of this thing for quite some time. That was my favorite part on this road. And I think I'm on Marietta Road, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm headed to 668, I think. If I turn left, that'll take me into Junction City, but I'm going to turn right toward Logan, Ohio, and I'm going to come back on 312. But yeah, super gorgeous down through here, nice and cool. It's a warm day of almost 90 degrees today. Ton of gravel on this road. So next cool day, I'm going to get out on the Spyder. I'm going to throw my big thick gloves on. I don't even need to plug them in. I just need to put them on and go for a 45-minute ride and see how I feel with these grips. And I'll let everybody know what I think. So far, power adapter, nope. Grips, they're all right. Super thick though. I'm not used to it. Rear caliper, doing good. So thumbs up if you like the video. Stay safe, everybody. I'll see you down the road.